For over a decade, we witnessed the rise of a boxing titan, Saul Canelo Álvarez, a fighter who carved his name into the annals of history, becoming an undisputed champion, a pound-for-pound king, and a national hero. We saw him dismantle champions, unify divisions, and build an empire. His legacy seemed untouchable, his place among the all-time greats secured. We believed we were watching a modern-day legend, a fighter with no equal in his generation. The aura of invincibility surrounding him was so thick, so palpable, that to even question it felt like blasphemy. He was more than a fighter. He was a phenomenon. But tonight, everything changed. Tonight, the fortress that was Canelo Álvarez came crumbling down, and the man who swung the wrecking ball was none other than Terence "Bud" Crawford. What we witnessed inside that ring wasn't just a fight, it was a deconstruction. It was a systematic, brilliant, and brutal dismantling of a legacy we all thought was written in stone. Crawford didn't just win, he exposed. He peeled back the layers of greatness and revealed the vulnerabilities that were hiding in plain sight all along. Let's be honest with ourselves. For years, there were whispers, small critiques that were quickly silenced by Canelo's next spectacular knockout. We talked about his footwork, the occasional struggles with slick boxers, and his stamina in the later rounds. But we dismissed them. Why? Because he kept winning. He beat Golovkin, he destroyed Saunders, he unified at 168 pounds. His resume was so stacked, his power so undeniable, that these minor flaws seemed insignificant. They were just footnotes in the grand story of Canelo's dominance. We, as fans and analysts, were caught in the spectacle. We wanted to believe in the unstoppable force. Tonight, Terence Crawford took those footnotes and blew them up into headlines. He didn't just exploit Canelo's weaknesses, he built his entire game plan around them. From the opening bell, Crawford's movement was a puzzle Canelo couldn't solve. The constant switching of stances, the lateral movement, the feints, it was a masterclass in ring generalship. Canelo, who is so used to being the matador, suddenly found himself playing the bull, chasing a ghost he couldn't pin down. Every time Canelo tried to plant his feet and unleash his trademark power shots, Crawford was gone, only to reappear with a stinging jab or a sharp counter. And let's talk about those counters. Crawford's precision was surgical. He wasn't just throwing punches, he was conducting a symphony of offense. He timed Canelo's advances perfectly, catching him coming in, making him pay for every aggressive move. We saw Canelo's head snap back time and time again. We saw a look of frustration, of confusion on his face that we have rarely, if ever, seen before. Crawford's power, something many questioned coming up from welterweight, was more than enough to gain Canelo's respect. He wasn't just outboxing Canelo, he was hurting him. The narrative before this fight was about size and power. Canelo was the bigger man, the stronger puncher. Crawford was the slick boxer who might get overwhelmed. But what we learned tonight is that technique, timing, and fight IQ are the great equalizers. Crawford completely neutralized Canelo's power advantage. He fought a perfect fight, never taking unnecessary risks, yet being aggressive and dominant when the openings appeared. He controlled the distance, he controlled the pace, and he controlled the fight from start to finish. The image that will be burned into our minds is Canelo Álvarez looking human, looking beatable. The aura of invincibility didn't just crack, it shattered into a million pieces. For the first time in a long, long time, Canelo looked like he had no answers. There was no plan B. His strategy of walking his opponent down and landing devastating body shots and hooks was rendered ineffective. Crawford's defense was impeccable. His chin held up, and his offense was simply on another level. So, where does this leave Canelo's legacy? This is the question that will now haunt his career forever. Is he still an all-time great? Of course. You cannot erase the championships, the victories, the moments that defined a generation. But this loss casts a long shadow over all of it. It forces us to reevaluate everything. Was he perhaps a bit overrated? Did he benefit from facing opponents at the right time, opponents who stylistically suited him? Did his team's masterful matchmaking protect him from a nightmare matchup like Crawford for too long? These questions are not meant to disrespect Canelo, but they are now unavoidable. When you build a reputation on being the best, a loss like this isn't just a blemish, it's an earthquake that shakes the very foundation of your legacy. It makes us look back at his toughest fights, the loss to Mayweather, the close calls with Golovkin, and see them in a new light. Were they signs that we chose to ignore? Terence Crawford didn't just get a win tonight. He claimed a stake as the true pound-for-pound king of this era. He did what no one else could do. He solved the Canelo puzzle in the most dominant fashion imaginable. He exposed the blueprints for beating him, and in doing so, fundamentally altered the boxing landscape. The conversation is no longer about who can beat Canelo. The conversation is now about how brilliantly Terence Crawford beat him. For Canelo, the road back will be long and arduous, not physically, but psychologically. How does a fighter who believed himself to be untouchable recover from being so thoroughly outclassed? The mystique is gone. Future opponents will now watch this tape and believe they have a path to victory. The fear factor has diminished. He is no longer the monster in the closet. He's a great fighter who has been shown to be fallible. In the end, boxing is a cruel sport. A decade of dominance can be redefined in 36 minutes. Tonight, Terence Crawford didn't just beat Canelo Álvarez. He erased the narrative that Canelo was in a league of his own. He proved that levels exist, and for one night, he was on a level all by himself. The legacy of Canelo Álvarez will never be viewed the same way again. It will forever be remembered as the era before Crawford and the era after. The night a boxing god was brought back down to earth. Thank you so much for watching. This is a moment in boxing history that we'll be talking about for years to come. What are your thoughts? How does this change your view of Canelo's career? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy deep dives into the world of boxing, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll see you in the next one.